Hey guys, SpicySoap back again with another episode of Space Engineers on BetterGamerOfficial. And in today's episode, we're going to be expanding upon our resource gallery so that then we can put it all within the rocket, head up to space, and then when we get there we'll have enough resources to colonize the moon. So, what we're going to do is we're going to use the drill ship to my left, we're going to fill it with a bunch of stone and other kinds of resources, refine those into a couple components, leave some of it as ores, and we're going to stock up the rocket so that then we're ready to expand once we get up into space. So, that's going to be today's project, and let's get on with it. So, what we need to do first things first is go and do a bit of drilling, and I'm thinking, before we go we need to check what we're short on. So, let's just look up ores. We have no ores. In terms of ingots, we are okay for silicon. We are okay for cobalt, should I say. Gravel, I'd like to think I have a lot of that. And that's about as far as ingots go as well, so we really need to go and get a bunch more ingots for just generic purposes. So, we're gonna get silicon, because actually I don't know if I saw silicon in there. I probably will do if I put silicon wafer. Okay, we definitely need silicon. So, let's fly off to a silicon deposit and let's pick up a bunch. Wherever the silicon may be. It's over this way. And we are already having problems. I've managed to flip the mining ship upside down. Which, for those who might not have gathered yet, is not good, because I don't have any upwards thrusters on this thing. So it's going to be quite awkward to get back into a normal position. Or at least I thought it would be. Okay. It's back in an average position. Never mind, panic averted. Well, it looks like we've got ourselves stuck again, so clearly the changes in which I've made to the mining ship in the past episode have managed to mess about with the flight mechanics of this thing. So what I'm going to do is see if I can fix that up, because otherwise today's episode is going to be difficult considering it's mostly to do with mining. So, let's get what we did mine back to the station and make this ship fly properly before it can't fly at all. Okay, so we've rebuilt the miner, and now all we need to do in terms of this is go mining again and hope that it works like normal. Because we've put it into a normal position, and it should work. But, just noticed an unknown signal off in the distance, and you know what that means. We're gonna go and take the car out to it. So, let's unpark the car. Car is unparked. Put it in the middle of the platform. Let's go down after it. Well, on our way to the unknown signal we found a suspicious looking rock, and it looks like it's got gold in it. If I'm correct, yep, it's got gold in it. So, we're gonna drill out some of this, because we need gold to make stuff like jump drives, and arguably those are important. So, I'm gonna mine out a bunch of gold, we're gonna put it in the car, and then we are going to return that back to base when we go back. Okay, so we drilled out a bunch of gold, and now my idea is to go and visit the unknown signal like we said we were going to do when we came out in the car. So, let's get driving, and we'll see you at the unknown signal. Okay, so we're here, and from a distance this looks like a standard unknown signal that'll just sit still when I hit the button. Cool. And we got a zebra rifle. I don't personally see myself using that, but it's always a cool thing to have on hand. So, let's take this thing for parts, and then we'll head back for the station. And after a quick and uneventful drive, we are now back at the station. So, what we're next going to do is get the drill ship out. We're going to go drilling for some more silicon, because I believe we're pretty short on it if I check. So if I go here, in terms of silicon we're still refining it, but this is by far not a good amount to have. So I'm going to get enough to build something like 1 or 2 drills. And then when we get to the moon, what I'm probably going to do is construct some sort of drill rig anyway. So, that's going to be the project. Let's get on with it. Okay, cool. So that's a bunch more silicon added to the collection. So we should be okay in terms of silicon. Now we need to look at our next resources. So, in terms of our next resources, we are going to need, if I look at ores, we are good for silicon and stone. So that's not a problem. Next thing I'm probably going to look at is getting more iron, because although this might look like a decent amount of iron, iron runs out very fast when you're up there in space and having to build a new thing. So, I'm gonna go and do some drilling over here for iron, because I believe there's a deposit. Yes, there is. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and mine a bunch of iron once this thing's emptied out, and then we should be able to top up on that. So, let's get the stuff off of the ship, and then we will be off and away. So that's a shipment of iron come in. So now all we need to do is check how much that'll refine down into. I suspect it'll go down into quite a bit, just because of how much iron actually breaks down to in the refineries we've got on the station, plus the sheer amount of the stuff we've got lying around now. So, what's going to happen is the station's going to refine this down into iron ingots, which is this stuff here, and then what's going to happen is we're going to be able to load it up into the rocket, some as components, some as just plain ingots, and then we can start to use it in our adventure up to the moon. So, let's leave that to refine, and in the meantime, we actually need to check how fueled up the rocket has gotten, because we did fuel it up with a bit of ice, and after the last episode released, I did actually do a bit of mining off camera. So, let's have a look how filled these hydrogen tanks actually are. This looks a lot less filled than it was, which is a bit strange to be honest. What I can do though is set all of the tanks to stockpile apart from this one, and just see how much it gets the rocket up by. And if that doesn't work, then I'm going to do a bit more mining off camera and see how much ice I can get us up to. Hopefully we're going to get up to 100%, because otherwise we don't have much of a chance of getting to the moon. So, it's looking like we're only going to get up to 63%, but some of the ice is still processing on board the station. So if I search ice, there is actually a lot of ice here and there just ready to be gathered. Or at least there was. So, it's looking like I'm going to have to do some more mining off camera in that regard. and in the meantime we need to figure out the resources for a refinery and an assembler, and then possibly a drill. Because what we can do is get enough resources for a basic starter base put into here, and expand off of that, and then we should be good to just set off in the next episode. So what we need to do is, if you didn't know already, if you didn't play Space Engineers or haven't played Space Engineers, there's an actual menu where you can select the blocks that you want to make, produce those in component form, and then you can just weld them together. A bit like when you go to IKEA and buy a wardrobe. So, what I'm going to do is I am going to get refinery open, and we're going to get the big refinery because we need to refine a lot of stuff. So the idea is we're going to just turn all of this into components, and then we can produce a refinery once we get to the moon. So we're also going to need an assembler, so I'm going to put that on in this one here, so then we've spread out the load. So we need to make a normal assembler, so let's put that in the queue, and let's just wait for that to produce. Okay, so we've now got a full solar panel, a full assembler, and a full refinery worth of resources here. And what I'm thinking is we're also going to need a high amount of oxygen up here, and I've only just thought of this. So what I can do is I can actually get these oxygen bottles. So it's a bit like how I've been picking up loads of hydrogen bottles, but these ones help me breathe instead of fly. So we're just going to put as many bottles in my inventory as possible, and then we're going to take them to the moon with us, because we need to breathe, right? So whilst I was putting resources into the rocket, I decided to take the liberties of adding a medical bay to my inventory as well, because I need one of those to respawn. So actually, down here in the station, you might or might not have picked up on this, but we do actually have a med bay down here. And this is where I respawn if I die. So, for example, if I crash into that wall really hard and I die, if I just keep doing that, hang on, let me just crash into a couple walls. So now, if I die, I get this list of where I want to respawn. Now, I could respawn on the moon, but that's cheaty and I don't feel like I want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to respawn at Earth, and here you'll see my body right next to where I've just died. So then I can get all my stuff back, and then we're back up to scratch. So that's all my stuff back, and that shows the concept of a medbay, which I would say is important to have on a colony, because if you die, you're not going to be able to get back there very easily. Because obviously, if I'm down here without a rocket and the rocket's up in space, I'm at a big disadvantage. So, what we're going to do is wrap up this episode, because we're actually running out of time to release this episode, and I haven't got much time to edit this. So, what I'm going to do is we're going to wrap this one up, and then hopefully in the next episode we can go to the moon. So, this has been SpicySoap. Stay tuned, and I'm out.